The Bitcoin range continues to get tight like a tiger, very, very tight, and I'm very, very bored. So I've been counting the days. I'm literally counting the days. And in today's video, we're going to be going over when this consolidation is most likely to resolve in terms of time. So other than that, we'll also look at some traditional market action as well. Are we still bullish there? Yeah, spoiler surprise. But there are a few new developments. So let's just jump into it right here, right now, starting off with the content of the day, which is when is this consolidation likely to end? So what I've done here is I've gone through this particular cycle starting in 2023 January and measured the amount of days and the percentage range that Bitcoin was in before it essentially resolved either to the upside or the downside. Obviously more of them were certainly to the upside, but there were a few downside resolutions throughout the past year and a half now. So as you can see on the board here, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 prior ranges that I would really calculate here. I did not include the current couple ranges going on in Bitcoin over the past couple months here because I wanted a little bit more just sort of generic data before I go into like what's going on right now. And as you can see, just generally looking at it, we have usually around about a month to a month and a half long in terms of correction. And in terms of percent, most of them around about 10%, a little bit more, a little bit less in some cases. But I've actually gone ahead and calculated all of them and taken the averages. And what you can see over here is that on average, we have seen throughout all of these 9 corrections, they've taken about 34 and a half days, a little bit more than 34 and a half days to resolve. And of those corrections, the average correction in terms of percentage was just over 10%, or actually close to 10.5%, with the maximum correction coming in at 15.94%, so almost 16% there, and the minimum about 4.59%. So I would say that the lower of those is actually the biggest outlier on this board. Everything else is basically double digits or more. Well, not more than double digits. Obviously, it's not like triple digits. Duh. But you get what I'm saying. Anyways, if we put it into context, I do believe that there are 2 actually different ranges going on in Bitcoin over the past couple months here. And if we do look at it as such, where Bitcoin essentially ranged between mid 70s and mid 60s, and then what we're kind of getting right now in mid 60s versus actually mid 50s, to be fair, we can see that this is actually still very much playing within those statistics. So Bitcoin's last range, about 15.68%, actually a little bit less than the current max, over 28 days, very close to the average right there, about a week less or almost a week less. And Bitcoin's current range is about 14.22% in terms of high to low. And in terms of days, it has been 22 days since Bitcoin got into this range, again, between about mid 60s, about $65,000 to the upside versus about 56 and a half or 57 to the downside. So what can we deduce from this if this relationship does continue on? Well, the low is very likely in. Doesn't mean that Bitcoin can't come back down and test around there. That's completely fine. But as far as the low, probably in. And in terms of timing, well, we probably have another almost 2 weeks of this. So going into mid-May, basically, as if we were to play out directly to the average, which, it can be a little bit more, a little bit less. Of course, there's going to be some variance. But if it were to be exactly 34 days on the average, which, by the way, no correction throughout this cycle has actually been exactly 34 days, then that would put Bitcoin or resolution somewhere around, 19th of May, which we have actually spoken about in prior videos as well, as kind of like mid-May. It's like a good time for Bitcoin, likely to try some more upside. In the interim, just Bitcoin play more sideways, maybe try a little bit of a downside move, a little bit of a fake out. I think that would be the time to see such a thing. But as we'll go over a little bit later, I still think that that's likely an opportunity amongst other things. And of course, again, understand that there's going to be some variance in here. For the most part, most of these corrections, taking about a month. So if we go, a little bit closer to 30 days, that would put us around the 15th of May, which is another date that has come up in prior videos as well. So I like the confluence that we are seeing amongst these different things for like a mid-May, move essentially. But until then, I think things are going to continue to get more fucking boring. That's basically just a little bit more than a week from right now, by the way. So fair enough. Anyways, moving on from there, let me bring up my notes over here. I do want to check back in on NASDAQ futures, as we were looking at this chart a few weeks ago, saying that a low was likely closer in on this move, in mid-April. Why was that? Well, several reasons, but one of the big ones for me was just looking at this in terms of percent correction, kind of the same thing as we just did for Bitcoin. It was an 8.5% move to a major moving average, I believe, as well. Yeah, on the monthly here, that 9 EMA reconnect. And throughout realistically throughout like the last how many years is this? 7 years, and I could probably go back further than that as well. The sort of flavor of the cycle correction for NASDAQ has been around 8.5 to a little over 10%. In fact, most of these like 8.5. We've seen many of these over time. And what is this current corrective phase from high to low? 8.5%. So I thought that was rather interesting. Now, of course, there were bigger moves to the downside than these relatively short-term corrections, but those were actual trend shifts, trend changes, not just mid-cycle correction with a general uptrend, like the actual trend shifted. So I do believe that this one, again, is suggesting we probably can see this continue to the upside. I want to go back on over here, check in on the weekly RSI, hidden bullish divergence, come off this last higher low. Probably continues from here. And again, I want to reiterate, as we have over the past few videos, sort of what's going on in the background as far as one of the fundamentals that I think actually does matter for markets. Because if you've been paying attention to markets for the past, 10, even 20 years, or 20, even 10 years, this has certainly mattered. If you've been paying attention even since 2020, you definitely fucking know. And it is, well, the Fed is essentially going to be providing liquidity again. QT is ending in June, or they say that Yellen says that it's going to be, massively downgraded in June, basically coming to a close. So QT is quantitative tightening on my bunghole. And what that means for the Fed is that they are going to, stop the tightening monetary conditions and maybe even lead into quantitative easing. I still think, and look, this is just complete speculation here. And I want to differentiate between my speculation versus what the Fed literally just told you that they're going to do, because I really hate it when people speculate on these things. And actually, maybe I just don't even do it. Look, I should say it though. I don't think the Fed is going to do quantitative easing anytime soon. Maybe not even this year. I don't think this year. But they have said that they will stop quantitative tightening. And one thing that the Fed is very consistent with, whether you agree with them or not, and this is, I think, where the big misunderstandings begin, is that the Fed does what they say they will do. And when people try to speculate on top of that, that's where you get into problems. Like, I think the Fed should do this. I think the Fed should do that. It's like, the Fed is going to do what they're going to do. They're going to tell you far in advance, by the way, as well. And it's up to you to either listen to them or not. But they have been very, again, whether they've done the right thing or the wrong thing, I'm not making a comment on that. It's just, they tell you, like they literally fucking tell you. And they have to as well, because obviously there's big money managers managing, multi-billion dollar portfolios, and they need to know these things in advance, because otherwise they might just blow themselves up. You can't say they didn't warn you. Anyways, so quantitative tightening ends, and then something else. Something else happens as well, but I forgot it in my notes. Damn it. Anyways, okay, so from there we can move on into Bitcoin. Again, these markets are typically correlated between NASDAQ or just traditional markets in general versus Bitcoin. So NASDAQ going up here, likely already having the low end and marching its way onto new highs, probably maybe later this month, probably June. It's going to bode well for Bitcoin. It just doesn't, because Bitcoin is technically weaker than NASDAQ. It's just not going to move, probably as much or first. It's going to be, second mover. And in this case, we already got the easy move from the volatility. God, man, my words are just not flowing. I want them to flow like shit from my ass, and they're not flowing at all, man. They're not flowing at all. The volatility contraction, yes, as we do see Daily volatility continued down there. We already saw the easy move, as we spoke about yesterday, to the median here. So that'll happen in one day. So far, the median has been a rejection at 65,500. So fair enough. If you're bullish, you really want to see Bitcoin close above, again, last Tuesday's high, which is kind of where the median is at right now as well. But I'll still say last Tuesday's high before I say that, hey, this range is ready to resolve to the upside and get ready for a test rather quickly, probably to, the highs that we saw in actually the Tuesday of the week prior on the 23rd, somewhere around $67,500. Still, I do think that things are going to be more or less boring between now and mid-ish May, so another week probably at minimum. And with rejection, as we saw yesterday, it is kind of poised to test back down to maybe low $62,000. This is, by the way, on CME. There is a price a premium over spot price action. But again, my main message, as we've been saying for a while now, I want to maintain this consistency as long as this is what I'm seeing, is that pullbacks down to low 60s. It's probably another opportunity. I don't really get concerned about Bitcoin as long as it's above essentially like $59,500 on a closing basis. So, this is going to take its time. More sideways here, generally going to favor the boo laws. Can it come down again, closer to 60? Sure. Yeah, no problem. That doesn't really do anything, though. It doesn't really do anything. Looking at the weekly right here, yeah, even the range flow is like quite further down. And what do you know? We do see a rejection at the median as well. So, that 65.5 region, very, very big number for both the daily and the weekly. If you do see the daily close above there, that likely precedes the weekly. And at that point, we could probably talk about moves back up generally to $70,000. Probably still going to be boring. Probably still going to be some sideways. And then maybe in June, we do see another try towards all-time highs. I mean, as we went over yesterday, there is about a 33% probability of Bitcoin reaching above $80,000 around end of June. And I'd be looking at those sort of domino pieces we just spoke about to give the green light that is not just 33% probability, but much higher. Until then, downside risk still exists. I think if there is going to be downside, you see it in the next week-ish. And as long as Bitcoin's above, 59, basically, I look at that as an opportunity. So if you are more long-term, that's probably of interest to you. If you're more short-term, you're probably bored as fuck, which is why I have my damn bots trading for me right now. My damn slaves just doing their work in the background. And I forgot to mention it. By the way, if you do find this content valuable or blah, 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 please consider liking and subscribing. I should let you know, and I'll let you know at the beginning of the next video. MetaSignals is now offering a 7-day free trial if you want to try out their goods, the goods that we spoke about many times on this channel. Again, their target one probability is actually super high, like around upper 70s to low 80s in most cases. So I shouldn't say that you should blindly trade them, and you shouldn't blindly trade them, but those have been the results. So you can see for yourself. You can see for yourself. Try it out for free. There's a link in the description below. There's also a nice discount code of 20% off for the lifetime of your subscription, because now they offer USD subscriptions. And even for the entrepreneurs out there, if you want to make some affiliate revenue, they have some sort of affiliate program going on right now as well. I'm sure you can find it on their website, which is all good. Make an announcement on this at the beginning of tomorrow's video, because I do understand that actually probably relevant, especially when things are boring as fuck in terms of price action. So yeah, good place for me to be leaving off. As always, I want to wish you the best of the best. By the way, I got a good question yesterday. What are the strategies to be trading in a tight range like this? This was from a person in the Krown quant automation service, and you can use this as well. Like if you're not even in that, the best strategies during these times, the best strategies, in my opinion, are going to be the ones that are related off the HPDR indicator right here, because, this is giving you the probabilities of the ranges. It could be the more tight ranges in between the 50% levels, especially on the lower term time frames. But if you don't have this indicator, then, another way of doing it, although less mathematically sound, would be the old lines, the old support and resistance. When things are ranging, that is actually the time that those things are going to be most applicable. Anyways, that's going to do it for right now. As always, I want to wish you the best. Take care. Much love. And see you hopefully tomorrow.